We're here at the John Roberts School in Harlem, New York, with the legendary Bob McCullough, the man who actually started the Rucker tournament, worldwide Rucker tournament, which he put into effect in honor of his mentor, Holcomb Rucker. Mr. McCullough, welcome.
Thank you.
So I want to go into your history, because you have a very rich history. Where were you born?
I was born in Bainbridge, Georgia.
And how did your family make it from Bainbridge, Georgia to Harlem?
Wow, long story.
We got plenty of time.
Well, my mother and father were sharecroppers in Georgia. And the overseer, white man, came to my mother saying she was working too slow and said, I ought to slap you. My father stepped up and said, if you do, I'll kill you. And the police came, took my father to jail. The overseer's father, who loved my father, came to jail and got my father out. Because usually what they do in the South, they come to the jail, break you out, and hang you on a tree. And my father left, came to Philadelphia, and sent for us, the children.
So he as soon as he got out of jail, he left for Philadelphia?
Yes.
He left that day or night?
Yes.
Because he knew that if he didn't leave, anything could happen.
Because he threatened a white man. You're not even supposed to talk bad to a white man.
What year was this?
It had to be 42, wow. 1942.
That's terrible. So your father made it to Philadelphia. He sent for the family, and everyone moved to Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay, and how did you make it from Philly to Harlem?
Well, my father was he was a night swinger, an all-night swinger. And
what is a night swinger?
Going to a lot of parties.
Okay.
And he went to New York, and he came rushing back to Philadelphia to my mother. Her name's Agnes. He said, Agnes, we're going to New York. We're going to New York. The lights out there never go out. And so my mother told me, she said, look, this is years later. He dead and the lights are still on in New York.
Let's back up for 1 minute. Did your family own property in Georgia?
My father did.
So you left everything, when you left Georgia, you left everything there?
Yeah, but he acquired property later on after we came to New York. Mm-hmm. He acquired property in Georgia.
So now you're in Harlem.
Yeah.
Boy from Georgia, seeing the bright lights of Harlem. What was that experience like?
Well, it wasn't nothing to me because I was an independent thinker. I was almost like an emancipated youth. Emancipated youth is someone who's able to, feed himself and get along on his own. So my mother recognized that I was able to take care of myself. She worried more about my brother, who was 3 years older than me. His name is James McCullough. And during a half a century, 1950 celebration in Harlem, I was opening cabs at the Savoy Ballroom, opening cab doors, getting money. 2 o'clock in the morning, my mother sent my brother, Willie McCullough, after me. Said, tell him time to come home. And my brother came to me and said, man, Mama wants you. I said, she know I'm out here. Yeah, she said time to come home. So I had a handful of quarters. I said, look, man, I'm making money opening cabs. He ran past me and started opening up cabs too. He started opening up cabs. So afterwards, we went to Small's Paradise. Next to Small's Paradise, there was a hot dog stand. We went there, got hot dogs. I got a hot sausage, you know. I was loaded with money. But anyway, what I'm telling you is written in the Harlem book. Harlem Week put out a book. And the story I'm telling you about opening cabs at the Savoy Ballroom.
Well, Harlem was culturally rich at the time. It had, because of segregation, all of your great writers and actors and politicians, Adam Clayton Powell and others, all lived together here in Harlem. Duke Ellington, it was so. What was that experience like? Because there was so many different people that you could look to admire and pattern your life after.
Well, everybody was just living their life.
Mm-hmm.
They was living their life because they knew who they were. They knew who they were. They knew what they had done. And they all recognized each other. Paul Robeson, daughters lived in Harlem. Paul Robeson's brother was the pastor of Mother AME Zion Church on 136 and 137th Street. So, and Bob Douglas, who was the coach and manager of the world famous New York Rens that won the first world championship in Chicago. The Rens that won 68 consecutive games without a loss. And they beat the Harlem Globetrotters in the semifinals to go to the finals.
This was a black league?
No, this is a white league.
Really?
This is an all-black team.
Mm-hmm. That played in the white league?
They came from all over the world
mm-hmm.
to play for this championship in Chicago.
So what got you introduced to basketball?
Well, I used to shoot around in the park, and a fellow came to me and said, man, we're going to go out and try out for Rucker. So I thought Rucker was a tournament or something. I didn't know Rucker was a man. And I said, okay. So I went to St. Philip's Church, because Rucker worked at St. Philip's Church Community Center. I tried out. I got cut from the team. So next time I tried out, I scored 4 points, and Rucker was looking around, the whole crowd of us. And I held my hand up. I said, I scored 4 points. He said, I'm not looking for scorers. I'm looking for players. I got cut again. Then what happened, I was part of a gang called the Politicians. But before that, it was the Sheiks.
What kind of gang was this?
It was a gang. It's all,
wait, you had a gang called the Politicians.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a gang before that called the Sheiks.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened that one of our guys got beat up. He got beat up on my doorstep, named Adam. So we all taking out revenge because they supposed to be coming back through the block. So everybody, you know how you get ash cans go on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody had knives. Some had guns. I had a hatchet. So I went around to Rucker Park, okay, where they had the tournaments. I just went around there because we were waiting for them to come. And a fella named Fred Scott came on the bike and said, man, when you go around the block, be careful. said, why? I said, because they called the police and the block is swarming with police. I said, okay. So I went around there, and what happened was the police stopped me and said, hey. I kept walking. I said, hey, I kept walking. I had the hatchet right here underneath. I walked up to the steps of St. Philip's, took the hatchet, threw it down in the cellar. It went bam. He came over to me, detective. He said, what you throw down there? I said, oh, nothing. I just threw some keys down there. He said, that ain't what I heard. I said, yeah. He said, go down there and get them. So I went down there. It was dark. I went in my pocket, pulled out 2 keys, came back up and said, see? Look at the keys. He said, it must be more than that. He said, the police officers down there with flashlights. Looking, they came up with the hatchet. I said, get in the car. They got in the car. They took me to the precinct. And my mother came to the precinct. But before my mother came, woe and behold, Rucker came with Lorraine Younger, who was Rucker's boss. She was the executive director of St. Philip's, came to the precinct, wanted them to release me in her custody. They said, no, they can only do that through his parents. And they released me for me to go down to children's court the next day. And
How old were you at the time?
I was 12. And woe and behold, I found out that Lorraine Younger, the executive director of the center, told Rucker to put me on the basketball team. Give me something to do. So
but you,
that's how I made the basketball team.
you became quite a player though. So from
Right.
that, you made it scholarship to Benedict College, correct? How did that happen?
Well, I graduated from Harron High School.
You played ball for your high
Harron
school?
High School, yes. I was one of the leading scorers at Harron High School. And I had gotten a scholarship to go to Texas, Wiley College in Marshall, Texas. And when I went down there, I got into a fight. That's when I found out that Texans don't like New Yorkers because Texas is supposed to be big and everything. But they know that New York is the empire state that controls the money and everything. And so there's that jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into a fight because we in the lunchroom and the guy standing over my food talking a lot of talk. I told him, leave me alone. He said, oh, I'm scared. I said, no, you better be scared. Leave me alone. So I pushed him away. He went and grabbed bottles because in Texas we all had soda bottles, glass soda bottles. He threw the soda bottle at me. Many of them. I started ducking. Everybody in the lunchroom started ducking. The girls started hollering. I said, man, let me throw some of these bottles back. Bam! Hit him upside his head. Big knot came and everything. And then the dietitian came and broke everything up. And everybody came to the dietitian and said it wasn't Bob McCullough's fault. You know, this guy Brady started it. So they sent both of us home. And then the students started writing me in New York. Then the coach started writing me, asking me to come back. And they paid my way back. And I got down there. I stayed maybe about 6 months and got into another fight with Brady's friend from Houston, Texas. They both from Houston, Texas. I mean, it's horrible. I said, man, I'm not going back there.
So how'd you make it to Benedict?
I was part of the Rucker tournament. My team won the 1958 high school championship in the Rucker tournament. And Rucker is the one that sent me to Texas. So I was in the park house. Everybody used to come in the park house and talk to Rucker, from time to time. And he was writing a letter. And I was talking to him, he kept writing a letter. And I was talking to him, he kept writing a letter. I said, Rucker, what are you doing? He said, I'm writing about you. I said, what? He said, I'm sending this letter to Big House Games, to coach down at Winston-Salem University. I said, Rucker, I don't want to go back to school. I done had those 2 fights, He said, I'm telling him that you're the greatest player that he would ever see since Jack DeFerris. I said, you can't tell him that. I said, Jack DeFerris is a pro. He said, let me tell you something. Call me Mac. He said, Mac, when Big House Gaines see this letter, he gonna want to see you play. I said, okay, Rucker. And then a chance for me to go to Benedict. The coach from Benedict came up to scout players. And we were up at St. Nicholas Terrace. And I went up there, and my jump shot was working. He took me, but he knew that I was a transfer student from Wiley College, and I would have to sit out a year. But he took me anyway.
Now, this was a time when the HBCUs had most of the great players, or if not all of the great players, because of segregation. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm. And who were some of the players that you played with or against on this college ball circuit?
Well, my rivals was South Carolina State.
Mm-hmm.
And one player in particular had left. He was a great player, Lindbergh Moody.
Mm-hmm.
He had graduated because he played against one of our great players, Walt Simon. Walt Simon played for Benedict, and Lindbergh Moody played for South Carolina State. That was the classical rivalry, both in the same state of South Carolina. But I played against a lot of great guys that played there at South Carolina State. And although we didn't like each other,
mm-hmm.
we wound up being friends.
But now you were the scoring champion for Benedict, weren't you?
Yes.
So you had a jump shot, you had a drive, you had a what was your go-to move?
Well, my go-to move was 2 things: fall back in the corner. I used to fall back in the corner and fall on the ladies. They thought I planned that.
All right, now the transition from Benedict College to the NBA. How'd that happen?
Well, first of all, there was a segregation of teams where blacks couldn't play against whites.
In college?
In college. And the captain of the chain gang in South Carolina came to see me play.
What's the chain gang?
Chain gang, the prison chain gang. You never heard of that?
No, I did hear that. I thought it was. I didn't think it was the actual chain gang, but it's literally the chain gang.
Right. He came to see me play. And
he's white. I had to ask. I had to ask.
Imagine a black guy.
Well, there were black overseers during slavery.
No, forget that. So he went to this league, this all-white league in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. Greenville is 100 miles away. And he came to me and told me that he had set it up. And he made reservations for me at a hotel. You know, blacks didn't live in the hotel, stayed in the hotel. So he did that. And then after I got up there, he said, you know, they're interested in having other blacks because they didn't want you to be singled out. Do you know any other black players? So I went back to Columbia, South Carolina, and recruited this big fella, 6'6", Hank Hinkleton, for my team, of course, because I need the ball, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I recruited my college roommate, who was the second leading scorer on my team. He's from Detroit, Michigan. And he played on the team with Billy Cunningham, the opposite team. And we were all up there. And we met in the finals, all three of us. Hank and I on one team, and my college roommate is on the team with Billy Cunningham. And they beat us. And they announced the All-Star team. And they called out Bob McCullough, first team All-Star. And that made history. I'm the first African American to be named to the All-Star team at the Southern Textile Tournament in Greenville, South Carolina. And then in 2017, I was inducted into the South Carolina State Hall of Fame as the first African American to make the All-Star team in the Southern Texas Basketball Tournament.
So what was it like playing in that league?
You know,
segregation and...
let me tell you, I didn't hear the cat calls. Because they had them, you know, psst, 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 all over the stadium. We played in the Coliseum. But I didn't pay any attention to them because I didn't know what they were. But it was a signal to all the white guys, when, you know, and coo, 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 which means coon, coon, coon. They used to call us coons. But I just kept playing.
How much money did you make?
Where?
Playing in that league.
I didn't make no money. They just put me in a hotel and fed me. Gave us a car to ride around in.
And didn't pay you anything?
No.
So how did you get from South Carolina League to the NBA?
Well, the Harlem Globetrotters came to the Southern Textile Tournament to see me and invited me to their camp. And then after the Harlem Globetrotters came to see me, I received a telegram from the Cincinnati Royals informing me that I was drafted into the NBA by them. That's what came to me. So I had two choices. And I went to the Globetrotters camp and they offered me a contract.
How much?
Oh, very little. Very little. For 6 months, make about $4,200, $4,200.
Unbelievable.
But after that, you can go with them to Europe, and make more money.
And how much did the Cincinnati Royals offer you?
They didn't offer me a contract. I didn't speak to them about it, which is probably my fault. I didn't speak to them about the contract.
But you wound up playing for them.
Yeah.
So how did you get your contract?
I didn't. I got cut from the team. When Oscar Robertson came, he was holding out. He was checking on me every day.
He was holding out for more money.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jerry Lucas, the white boy, was making more money than him.
So Oscar held out for...
And I came in.
To take his place, or...
Yeah, exactly.
So did they offer you a contract then?
No.
No, they just wanted you to take his place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say it's my fault that I didn't ask for a contract.
How long did you stay with them?
Oh, about maybe 3 months, 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm. Then what happened after your relationship with the Royals?
I came home to teach school, but I always had taken over the Rucker tournament.
So tell me about Holcomb Rucker. What kind of man was he?
Oh, man. He was a man who had a lot of charisma without even working at it. He was just him. Just like you walking around, just talking to him, talking to me, talking to George and everything. And people just admire him because he ran this tournament and he gave everybody a chance. That's why when I first heard about trying out for Rucker, I thought Rucker, was a tournament. I didn't know Rucker was a man, but the tournament is named after Rucker.
So you and your partner Fred Crawford took over the tournament?
Yeah, we both played for Rucker when we was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We played. In other words, you got a high school league, you play high school. Then over here, you got a community league that play games all over the place. Mm-hmm. We played in the community league when we didn't play high school.
So how did it become such a worldwide tournament?
Well, the Rucker tournament was always known throughout the community because they had so many pro stars, guys coming out of college playing, guys that we want to see, that I definitely want to see. Like Calvin Ramsey, Jack DeFerris, Carl Green, Sayugo Green. These are the guys that we saw. Sherman White. And then there was Ed Warner, Herman Taylor. And then there was the great one, Rabbit Walthall. You know, we want to see these players. And Ray Felix played in the tournament. And Teddy Jones, they played for the Bronx. And Stacey Austin, they played for the Bronx. And Brooklyn had Saiko Green, and they had Sally Walker, Timmy Vincent, Shue Niles. That's Brooklyn.
But the thing that I'm most curious about is that the tournament captured the attention of the world. And this was without social media, it was without television, it was out.
Well, what happened was that after Rucker died, and Freddie and I took over, we concentrated on the All-Pro League, where Rucker had 5 divisions. He had the biddies, he had the midgets, he had high school, he had college, and he had the pros. Oh, and he also had girls. But we only had the pro division. We concentrated on all pros. And the New York press wanted to know why pros were risking their careers and playing up in Harlem for free. That's what they wanted to know. So they came up. NBC, ABC, CBS, WPIX, all of them came up with cameras. The New York Times, the Daily News, the New York Post, all of them came, and all of them wrote, different stories about the league. Jim Bouton used to be with the
Yankees.
New York Yankees. Did a 5-day series on the league when Dr. J came. Because when Dr. J did not return to college and sign a pro contract, everybody wanted to know who was this player that refused to go to college and sign his contract. And he was playing in the Rucker tournament. So as a result, we had people on the fences, we had people in the trees, and we had people on the roof, all to see Dr. J. And we have this picture that you need to see, unless you've seen it already.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it. I'm an admirer of that photo.
Right. So you need to include that
in this.
Yes, yeah. You need to.
So then, how did you feel about it becoming such a worldwide success?
Well, I wanted to become that way because the coaches and the general managers from Europe were coming over and sitting in the sun, the sunny side of the ball, scouting and interviewing players who were not in the NBA, but who were playing in our league, and took them to Europe.
To make some money, get a change of life.
Right.
So you changed a lot of lives.
Oh, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely.
So now, let's talk about each one, teach one. How did that come about?
Well, the Rucker tournament started in 1965. Each one, teach one started in 1967. because we started doing clinics for the young kids all over. And we started having rap sessions about health, about education, and about staying free of drugs. And we had a question and answer period. But the most important thing is that we wanted to impact the lives of the youth. And we wanted to let them know that we say no to drugs. And we did these clinics all over. The clinics got to be so popular until we started a program, a winter program at IS 201, which would counsel the young people, and we gave each one of them a counselor who was also a coach. And we put them in classrooms, and they had sessions with them. And then we bought uniforms for them. And we organized them into a league. It became the Each One Teach One basketball league. And prior to that, we was teaching kids how to play, teaching them the fundamentals. And a lot of them went on to play college ball. Some went into the NBA. It's just incredible what you can do. But Mobil Oil Company saw the value of what we were doing with the kids and said, Bob, Each One Teach One is going to last longer than the Rucker Pro League. He said, because what you're doing is dealing with one generation to the next. I never forgot that.
You've seen the NBA transition from a small little league to global, a league that represented segregation to now players being dominant, black players being dominant, the money being nothing to the money being many millions of dollars. What do you think about the transition of basketball during your lifetime, seeing it go from where it was to where it is now?
Well, you're absolutely right, because when I was part of the NBA, there were only 9 teams in the NBA. Now there are 32, unless there's some others. And what I like is that the NBA has grown globally, which is what we have done in the Rucker Pro League. We've grown globally as well, because all over the world they know about the Rucker Pro League. And they know about the NBA. But the NBA has stopped to take care of the players through the health benefits. And you can't help but to admire an organization that's going to take time to counsel their players, and not only counsel their players, but to look out for the Players Association, and to also look out and do things for the NBA retired Players Association. 2 separate organizations. The NBA Players Association is current players who are playing, who are part of the association. Then the NBA Retired Players Association are guys from yesteryear. But the NBA is continue to help them. And so I take my hat off to them. Although I'm in the background and Silver doesn't have an idea of who started all of this, you know. I can't blame him, you know. He's from Duke, so he doesn't know about the history of the Rucker Pro Legends. He dealt with Greg Maris.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What do you see as the future for the Rucker Park program?
Well, I think that the future is to have pros to come back and give clinics for the kids. If you can't play, then you can, give clinics. You can contribute something. Have a conversation, with the kids. Have giveaways, or 3-point contests, or 3-on-3. Players can come and conduct 3-on-3 tournaments, one day 3-on-3 tournaments with the kids. That's what I look for in the future.
Well, we've spent a good amount of time with Bob McCullough this afternoon. I really enjoyed this conversation, one of the most interesting conversations I've had. Thank you, Mr. McCullough. We look forward to many things happening with the Rucker program.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.